Well, the big tech companies are fighting back against the proposal from the federal government to implement age restrictions, including the CEO of Snapchat. Now, Snapchat, some of our viewers may not be aware of, it's a social media platform that is primarily used by young people, including kids. It's basically where you can send photos and messages that self-destruct. So I might send a photo to you, you open it, it lasts for 10 seconds and then it disappears. If you screenshot that photo, it tells me that you have done so. Evidently, that is also used by people for nefarious purposes. But the CEO of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, says that parents have already got these tools today. This is the sort of thing that the government is trying to implement. We use the iOS level controls and screen time to limit what our teen, we've got an almost 14-year-old at home, what he's able to use. We have Family Centre as well inside of Snapchat that allows parents to monitor their teen's activity on Snapchat and put in place more stringent content controls and things like that. We've really done a lot to empower parents to make the right choices for their teenagers. And again, all those tools already exist for parents who would rather restrict the use of certain apps for their teens. Well, lo and behold, Snapchat speaks out against it, but Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, has thought, well, maybe if we do a little bit now, then it might just get the government to move back a little bit, because they announced overnight that they will implement their own restrictions for children on Instagram. Michelle Rowland, who we showed you before, I'm sorry to subject you to her again, but she brought this up at her press conference today.
The announcement we've seen today applies to one platform, that is Instagram. The government is seeking to introduce legislation and have that passed by the Parliament. We'll introduce that this year, that relates to access to social media by children. We're looking at an age range here of between 13 and 16.
And again, we're looking at an age range between 13 and 16 because they don't actually have a plan yet. This is literally policy on the run. But this response is not surprising whatsoever. You had the Prime Minister the other day trying to say, whoa, we're going to stand up against those big tech bullies who don't want to conform with the law in Australia. Well, the tech companies are simply trying to say, and not unfairly so, that we have created tools that parents can use if they so wish, but the parents haven't done so. So why is it always the responsibility of the government to step in and be the parent when the parents could do something about it now?
I love this by the Snapchat CEO, putting the onus back on the parents. Your kids, your responsibility. Revelatory. Oh my gosh, you're a genius, buddy. This is what I think all of these guys, whether it's Meta, whether it's Elon, should be saying back to these governments. This is not necessarily our responsibility. They already take great extremes to abide by the laws of the countries in which they operate. If there is a law being broken, they're the first to say, yep, our bad, we've got to get this material off our platforms. They are very conscious of that. Otherwise, they'd be in big trouble and they'd constantly be before the courts. But what the government is trying to do here is essentially take the place of parents. And I know that a lot of parents, I would call them lazy, are like, oh, thank God the government's taking this on instead of me having to do my job. If you as a parent are aware of the mountain, it's more like a mountain range at this point, of studies and research done on the detrimental impacts on youths on social media, why do you even let them have access? And if they do have access, why aren't you using the measures available to you to monitor it? It's not rocket science. It is your job to protect your kids.